Every F1 2026 power unit explained. The hybrid reset. Two power curves, one promise. In 2026, Formula One will ask a 1.6-liter turbo V6 and a supersized hybrid system to share the load almost 50-50, run on 100% sustainable fuel, and make overtakes feel less like paperwork and more like a punch. The MGU H disappears. The MGU K grows from a sidekick into a star, and a manual override burst of battery power turns the 1-second gap into an ambush. Stay to the end and I'll give you the simple one-lap rhythm you can listen for on the radio to predict passes before they happen. The 50-50 equation. The headline is balance. The internal combustion engine keeps its 1.6-liter single-turbo layout, but the electrical side gets promoted. Teams will harvest far more energy under braking and redeploy much more down the straights, changing the soundtrack of a lap without losing the drama. You'll still hear turbo whistle and wastegate chatter, but the hybrid shove is no longer just a nudge out of slow corners. It's a genuine second power curve the driver has to budget. That's the spirit of the regs. Simplify the engine, supercharge the hybrid, and make the racing healthier without neutering speed. Why kill the MGU H? Cost and complexity, but also road relevance. The heat motor was a technical jewel that kept turbos spooled and efficiency sky-high, yet it made power units brutally expensive and difficult to manufacture hop. Removing it opens the door for newcomers and frees engineers to focus on a bigger, tougher K system. There's a trade-off. Spool up and drivability, now live or die on smart turbo design, anti-lag strategies, and software that predicts torque requests like a mind reader. It's a less watchmaking, more athleticism. Manual override greater than paper DRS. The other change you'll feel is how passes start. Instead of a flap, you open at a painted line. Cars get an electric boost when they are close enough to deserve it. Think of manual override as permission to cash in your stored energy early and hard when you're within striking distance. Active Aero will trim drag in sync, but the real theater is battery-led. Get close, hit the switch, and trade electrons for momentum. To me, that's truer to the modern car. Overtake's ode to energy management and positioning, not just a slot gap in the wing. 100% sustainable fuel, real power. F1's fuel goes fully sustainable, not a marketing blend, but a drop-in fuel synthesized from waste streams and captured carbon. The goal isn't to slow the cars, it's to decarbonize the chemistry. Engines will be optimized for this brew, chasing efficiency with narrower fuel energy limits while keeping the lap time window honest. I like what this signals. The show improves because the science improves, not because we pretend physics got easier. Regeneration and deployment, the new rhythm. Drivers will manage a hybrid that bites harder on both ends. Braking zones become battery banks. Exits become withdrawal slips. At lower speeds, you'll feel the K motor surge like a slingshot. At very high speeds, deployment tails off, so the game is timing, not spraying. The best laps will sound almost syncopated. Harvest deep into heavy stops, rotate cleanly without glazing the fronts, then hit the shove while the rear still has bite. If a driver over-earns early in the lap and wastes it fighting dirty air, expect a flat line on the straight. If he saves through mid-speed and spends at the right apex, you'll see a car leap 2 car lengths like it found a secret gear, cooling, brakes, and the quiet war under the bodywork. More electric power doesn't just mean wires, it means heat. Battery temperature, inverter efficiency, and K motor cooling become as decisive as downforce levels. Brake-by-wire has to dance with Regan so a driver doesn't feel like the pedal has 2 personalities. When teams get it wrong, you'll hear the complaints. Long pedal, rear snappiness, an outlap that never wakes up. When they get it right, the car looks silky. Minimal steering correction, short junctions back to full throttle, and the kind of traction that makes rivals sound undergeared. Who builds the heartbeats? The grid reshuffles its partnerships. Legacy giants stay, a couple of new badges arrive, and some familiar names switch camps. That mix matters because the 2026 unit is less about peaky horsepower and more about complete systems. Harvesting maps matched to brake materials, cooling routed for Aero, software that decides when the battery is a weapon and when it's ballast. The winners won't just have a fast dyno, they'll have a marriage between chassis and power that lets the driver ask for torque like it's on tap. Strategy on a lap, strategy across a race. The power unit changes don't replace pit strategy, they elevate it. Imagine a late race train where 2 cars are within a second of each other every lap. Manual override doesn't guarantee a pass. It forces drivers to bait each other into spending. Blow the pack with an early deploy, and you'll arrive at the next heavy stop with an empty wallet. Sit on the shove, and you risk never getting parallel. Over a stint, the best drivers will read the SOC needle like a novel, making tiny, greedy harvests in corners where the car will tolerate it and burning where the traction will convert it into meters, not wheel spin. The sound of 2026. No, this isn't the silent future. It's a sharper hybrid voice. The ice note stays fierce, but the lap has a second texture now. A low, insistent push you can almost hear as much as you feel. I'm fine with that trade. The spectacle of 2026 is that speed comes from orchestration. When the car rotates on a thread, rides the K push without lighting the rears, and threads into manual override with the pack that right there, you remember why this sport thrives on constraint. Limits force genius. The one-lap rule you'll hear on radio. Here's the rhythm to listen for. Heavy harvest in the biggest stop, smooth coast into the medium corner to keep the state of charge happy. Then a manual override hit just as the car stands up on the exit curb. If you hear a driver being told to build the pack through a complex, he's setting the battery trap. If you hear don't spend, he's saving for the main straight. Nail that sequence and you don't need DRS politics. You need nerve. That's 2026 in the sentence. The pass belongs to the driver who treats energy like track position and spends it where it buys daylight. If this made the future clearer, do me a favor, hit subscribe so you don't miss our 2026 launch spec breakdowns. Drop your energy management questions in the comments, and tell me which circuit will reward the new boost the most and why. If you want to power deeper telemetry graphics and dyno to track explainer episodes, you can use super thanks below. Always optional, always appreciated. And if you want early outlines, members-only posts, and custom emojis for quali watch-alongs, hit join. Let's build the smartest F1 explainer feed on the grid.